Hello and welcome into this video about Breath of the Wild speedrunning. It's easy to think that because it is short, it is easy, and it isn't necessarily the case. Many things can go wrong, depending on how well you manage certain tricks. So following are tips on 5 any percent tricks that can hopefully really help you if you ever want to give a try or improve your runs to this category. Before we go forward, I would like to say that this is focused on the Switch and no amiibo variant of the run. However, a lot of this may still apply on other versions of this run, such as Wii U amiibo as well, so no worries. Since this is divided in multiple sections, the descriptions on this screen right now will have the timestamps for each of the sections of the video, so don't hesitate to jump towards them as you may need. Let's go! This type of launch is challenging because not only does it rely on Link having to actually hang on the tree, but your angle must also be correct in order to actually land in the desired area. Before, I had lots of trouble and killed many runs because of Link falling off the tree as it launched. However, there are a couple things you can do to prevent that, which is mainly encompassed in the timing of when you freeze the tree with stasis. It is important that the trees are frozen as early as possible, but not too early either. If you freeze it too early, there is a risk that the tree will just tumble over instead of actually launching. If you do it too late, the tree will launch, but not only will charging the stasis launch be harder, for some reason, but actually hanging on the tree is a bit harder, and there is more chance Link will slip off the tree. A couple last things to note. When doing that rocket, make sure not to launch it with an angle that is too near that tree. Otherwise, Link might end up hitting the tree and fall off. For that one, be careful not to fall off in the holes of the Temple of Time's roof. If that happens, do a fall damage cancel by pressing the throw button for melee weapons, release it, and very quickly unequip it. Now, take a look at this timing and try to experiment with it. You might also need some experimentation with managing to actually land the tree in the correct areas. For that, you'll need to practice with where you actually shoot the arrow once you've frozen the tree. But with practice, this will come. This trick in particular can save around 15 seconds or so it is quite useful, but also easy to fail. It relies on creating a Cryonis block of ice, shield jumping onto it as it rises, and jumping in order to get a boost onto the ledge above, which will skip having to go up manually. What you have to consider principally is first the angle of the actual Cryonis jump and the timing of the jumps. You have to be careful not to put the block too far or you run the risk of not making it to the block. You also have to make sure it is not too close or you might go over it accidentally. This distance should do. For the next part, jump as soon as you reach the block, which will make Link jump a much greater height since he is boosted by the block rising. If the angle is right, he will have enough height to reach the ledge. It is optional, but I would recommend removing your shield whenever you can. This will help in saving on durability. This trick is fairly simple at the end of the day once you got the angle right, so there's not much more I can say. Here is a replay if you need it. Now we are getting into a trick that is useful in all categories, this one included if you want to get serious about it. In any percent amiibo, you would use amiibo crates or chest to boost yourself. However, in no amiibo, you have to use either of those boulders, trees, and this slab to boost yourself. The first tip I would like to provide for this is to learn the rhythm of stasis. Take a listen. Usually the recommended time to do the jump itself is at the 6th or 7th fast beep. Second, charging stasis. Notice the difference in the charging with those two positions? As you can see, it is important Link faces opposite the object you are trying to launch from. In this case, either the boulder, tree or slab. Once the arrow is red, you should press B to stop spinning. That is important because if you do not do that, you will keep spinning and either waste all your stamina, which will ruin all chances of you doing the launch, or you will just not have enough time to position yourself. For the boulder, you can then either straight up position yourself or use an arrow to position the arrow in the right direction. For the trees, this will be necessary that you shoot them with arrows so that the direction becomes correct. This isn't necessary with a slab. There is a good tutorial that Rasen has made for the slab launch, and I will put the link down in the description. But to sum up, what you should do is crawl under and go next to this chest. Then take out the slate to aim and look at this part of the slab. Check on the map and you see the angle of the vision cone right here should be around that way. Then place a square bomb, stasis charge, explode the bomb and either release stasis or wait for it to be released. Then either have a visual cue, being this, and then jump, which will hit Link. Make sure to be placed forward on the slab or you may fall off. Here's a little replay. Now, one last thing I would like to mention regarding the trees is the angle at which you freeze them. If the angle is too high, chances are Link won't be able to position himself properly and fall off. If it is too low, you have the risk of it falling on the ground if you miss, in which case the launch will require another technique involving bombs, which I hate. So at the end of the day, it is similar to the tree rockets where you have to be careful about the angle of the tree. So find your timing and from that, this will work best for you. Here is the one I use. This trick that precedes the Blight's fights seemed to be disliked by many, and this is understandable. It relies on Link actually being able to stay on the tree without hanging on or being launched, which can be pretty scary. Usually, the reason why people fail this trick can be because of either the angle of the tree when it is frozen, or the angle at which the arrow hits the tree when redirecting the tree, or the positioning of Link right before the launch goes. So let's go over those factors. First off, as a whole, make sure that the tree is actually aiming towards the central tower of the sanctum as well as the stasis arrow. This will ensure the tree will actually be launched towards the sanctum instead of next to it, for example. This may seem trivial, but this will really help in the context of a run if you land actually next to the sanctum door. Once you have the angle, like this, charge it as if you were doing a launch, facing opposite the tree and then use an arrow with the pointer slightly above the tree itself. Once that is done, hop on the tree and go towards the top, around here. If you have a bad positioning, you might either be launched up in the air, or worst case scenario, just drop off the tree. You should be positioned like this, towards the top, but not too close to the edge either. It mainly depends on the angle of the tree itself, but if you get it right and are well positioned, you should be fine. Now, assuming you do get launched in the air, worry not. The situation is salvageable. Just paraglide over to this area right there. Then, with full stamina, jump on the wall right there and climb to the top. Once that is done, you can whistle sprint to that wall, climb it, and yay! You reached the sanctum. This final trick is one that is getting a lot of attention as of recently, and for good reasons. Just take a look at this comparison between normal launches and super launches. I won't go into full details on how it works, as Zant is currently making an in-depth tutorial to which I will post a link in the description once it is released. Anyways, the basics of it is that you must do a stasis launch, just as we saw earlier. However, this time Link must pull out a paraglider as the game lags, which for some reason will cause him to go at super speed. On Switch, the basic method is to do the launch, buffer with the D-pad menu a couple times, pause for a first time, pause a second time, and then pull out the paraglider. Another very important factor to consider is that the camera should have an angle that shows a laggy area, such as that forest. In the case of the launch we do in any percent, no amiibo, it is therefore necessary to make sure that before the first pause the camera is well positioned, otherwise it won't work. Likewise, don't panic. You can and should leave a bit of time before pressing pause a second time. Now the angle you want to launch from is another question if you decide to use super launches. For me, I usually take the rock on the right, launch a bit right from the castle and go there. However, if you want to give a try to other possibilities, you definitely can. What I would advise particularly about this rock would be to be placed not too high, but not too low, just about right there. Then you jump on the 7th beep. Once you get the launch, you switch the camera towards the tree while buffering, and then you pause the first time, unpause, wait for a bit, pause a second time, and immediately pull out the paraglider. There are times it won't work, but most of the time it should. It will require some training to get the timing right, but with this method, the consistency should definitely increase. And that was my tips on some of the tricks that are found in any percent speedrunning of Breath of the Wild no amiibo. It is not a full-on tutorial, but I hope it could bring a couple tips that will be able to help you in some way. In any case, thank you for watching and bye!